everybody. You're tuning in to Mad About It. I'm your host, Becky. Becky with the good hair. That's right, it's me. So today we're doing another episode of the music series. So today's gonna be 1945-ish to 1960s-ish. We're gonna do the 1960s, the 70s, and we're gonna do the 70s, 80s, we're gonna do the 80s, 90s, we're gonna do the 90s, thousands, you know? We're gonna do it, but it's kind of a big window. There's like a few too many people for this one. Should I have broken it up from 40s to 50s and then 50s to 60s? Maybe, but I don't know. I don't think so. I like it this way. I like talking about a few too many people, and I am gonna go ahead and start off with a huge endorsement for the playlist. I spent a lot of time making the playlist. I'm also just like getting better at making playlists. But this playlist, you know, the artists that we're talking about, you know, you're gonna like hearing about their stories and stuff, but you're not gonna like it as nearly as much as you're gonna like listening to them. So definitely check out the link in the description. There's a link in the description to the playlist. The playlist is on Spotify. You can also, I'm pretty sure you can search for the playlist. And if you can't search for the playlist, then somebody please, like, you know, tell me, because I think you can right now. I think I have it all set up so that this all works real nice and easy. If it's not working real nice and easy, please say so, because otherwise, yeah, I don't know. I like just recently found out that I had like a huge problem with like just the basics of the podcast. That was just, it was still working and it was fine, you know, like, you know, hello, like you're listening, but yeah, there's, you know, I'm not like a podcast genius. I'm not some sort of tech genius. I'm not really any sort of anything. I'm just a lady who's quite literally sitting in a coat closet because this is the quietest place in my house, you know? Like, I had to go into a closet to record my Out Gay podcast. You know, beggars can't be choosers, I guess. I don't know. I guess this is the best you got for now. Okay. Okay. So you want to know who's on the playlist? Okay. The playlist this week is Patsy Cline. Bum bum ba. Yeah, we're gonna talk about Patsy Cline. Peggy Lee, Anita O, Blossom Dearie, Dinah Washington, Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald, Nina Simone, Etta James, and Betty Carter. Did I say Sarah Vaughan? It's all like, you know what I mean? So here's the deal. Every single one of these artists is so unique. They all sing and perform live, you know, better than every single person on the radio today. Every single one of them. So, you have to go listen to the fucking playlist. Like, I'm not gonna, I worry I'm being hostile about it, but like, this is the one, y'all. Like, if you didn't listen to last week's because you blah blah blah, you know, fine. This is the playlist. It's a real good playlist. I also tried to find as many songs that had as like sort of like neutral pronouns as I could. But it's important to bring up, so like the last episode we talked about the 1920s and 1945s. Huge window. But mostly that big window made me able to focus on like basically just like like really, really rebel women. They did not use a lot of gender specific language. The last episode, you know, though that music does not have a lot of pronouns. this music, this era of music, I noticed a sharp uptick of pronouns when we get into the 50s. And I think that that's a cultural thing that's being reflected in the music 100%. There was a huge uptick in just like very specific pronoun usage. So I had a bit of a hard time finding songs that weren't super pronoun specific. So if that's kind of off-putting to you, then I apologize. But, you know, I think a lot of it is very ambiguous. And I also find a lot of these women to be a little ambiguously queer. I know that is like super triggering for some people. I know that the word queer is triggering for some people. I know that, like, you know, trying to say that Patsy Cline makes a lot of people is queer, it makes a lot of people's heads explode. You know, I'm not saying she is. She's married to some dude. She died like way too soon. We're gonna get to it, alright? And all these other people, you know, none of these people are very queer. Ella Fitzgerald is not very queer. Ella Fitzgerald's music is like so pronoun specific, like unbelievably pronoun specific. Like I never used to care, but and I still don't, but it might be a thing for you, you know. It might be something that you're just like over. So if you're worried about that, then don't worry about it. The playlist is super good about it. There's not a lot of pronouns in the playlist. But let's go back to Patsy Cline. So Patsy Cline is a very interesting person. She was born in 1932, and she started getting popular like in the 50s. She got a 1957 TV appearance with Walking After Midnight was when she like really took off. So 1957, I guess, was when she took off. Here's the deal. Patsy Cline. She's originally Virginia Patterson. She died in 1963. So she made her breakthrough in 1957 and she died in 1963. So wrap your head around that. All of the music that you are able to listen to from Patsy Cline, that has been preserved, that was published, you know, that was mainstream. All of that manifested within 6 years. That's a really small window. So it's pretty impressive that she was like as famous as she was, you know. Also, you know, dying in the middle of your fame is a pretty good way to be famous forever. That being said, I mean, I think we've all heard Patsy Cline. Like, she's really, really good, you know. Like, she would have been famous no matter what. Like, you know, like, Cher is like a really, really shitty Patsy Cline, you know. So, yeah, you know, it's nuts. She had a bad car accident too. That's the thing, though. So in that 6 years, she also was in a horrible car accident. So remember Bessie Smith? Bessie Smith was killed in a car accident. Fucking don't text and drive. Do you know what I mean? Like, everybody important is dying in car accidents, and it's like not getting better. It should be getting way better. Like, we have made cars like so safe, and now we're like getting bit in the ass by how safe cars are. People don't give a shit. They're fucking living on their phones in their alternate universes, and they're not living in the real ones where they're hitting me with their fucking cars. So, stop texting and driving. Bessie Smith died in a car accident. Patsy Cline almost died in a car accident. She did die in a plane crash. Be fucking glad that, you know, people aren't dying in plane crashes all over the fucking place 24/7, I guess. That's gotten better, but the car stuff has not gotten better. God, it pisses me off. Also, like, so shoot me, I just like driving. You know what I mean? It's an engaging activity if you let it be. Okay. Yeah. So she worked with Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson wrote the song Crazy. And she got ridiculously popular with Crazy. Ridiculously popular. She was popular with I Fall to Pieces in 1961, but Crazy was the song that really launched her superstar status. And in that same 1961, she had that car crash. So 1961 was a pretty rough year for Patsy Cline. 1962, she hit the #1 spot with She's Got You. She's Got You is a dope song. I don't think I put it on the playlist, mostly because I put like fucking everything on the playlist. You know what I mean? It's already a 2-hour playlist. So I was like, nah. Okay. So she died in 1963 in a plane crash in Camden, Tennessee. After her death, the song Sweet Dreams was released and became a hit. She was considered to be one of country music's greatest vocalists, and she was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 1973. She's had movies made about her, you know what I mean? You could go to her home in Virginia. That's cool. But the whole deal is that the fucking music is amazing. So I watched a bunch of videos where they were like talking about Patsy Cline, and there was an interview with her husband, and her husband talked about how they were working on Crazy, and they were recording it for 3 hours, and they did that same song for 3 hours. And I don't know if you know how long Crazy is, but Crazy is a 2-minute chart. That shit's done and over in 2 minutes. Yeah, 2 minutes. So if you're spending 3 hours doing a 2-minute song, that's a fuck ton of takes. That's what we know. You don't take a lot of breaks when you're a studio recording musician. You don't do that. So the 3-hour session is a 3-hour session. And if she didn't get any of those takes, she didn't get any of those takes. Apparently they were like, okay, Patsy, like, what's going on? And she was like, blah, 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 Willie wants me to do it this way. And they were just like, well, fuck how Willie wants you to do it. Like, just do it how you want to do it. And then they regrouped, and they did it like 3 more takes, and she nailed all 3 takes, and they took the best of those. And Willie Nelson says that it's his favorite version of his song. I wonder if he felt that way about it then. Certainly he feels that way about it now. But they told a lot of really funny stories about Patsy Cline. I should link this video. It was good. It was on biography.com, which is like fucking lame as hell, you know what I mean? But like it was cool because they interviewed Patsy Cline's husband, and they interviewed Willie Nelson, and I don't know, man. I think Willie Nelson is a really, really good songwriter, but I am not a huge fan of Willie Nelson as like a performer. He's almost better when other people do his stuff. I think Patsy Cline's a pretty good example of that. But Patsy Cline is also the same sort of lady, could fucking do anything, spin anything into gold. Alright. Next up, Peggy Lee! Alright, Peggy Lee is like my idol. Alright, I'm obsessed with Peggy Lee. Peggy Lee is a singer, songwriter, composer, actress. She's also a poet. Of course. She wrote music for films, acted, recorded conceptual record albums that combined poetry and music. So, like, here's the deal. She's from North Dakota. She was born in 1920. She became really famous, like, around the 1950s, late 1940s. So she was a regular on the Jimmy Durante show, and appeared frequently on Bing Crosby's radio shows during the 1940s and early 50s. She recorded Fever, and that was like one of her biggest hits. I think almost everybody knows the song Fever. It was written by Little Willie John, but in 1958 she recorded Little Willie John's version of Fever, or, you know, Little Willie John's Fever. What an awful name. Little Willie John. Little Willie John. I just I think that's gonna be my name after if they put me on hormones, I'm gonna be Little Willie John. Little Willie. Instead of Becky with a good hair, I will be Little Willie John. I don't even wanna. Who would accept that? You know. I guess, you know, small penises are good, though. Let's be real. Like, I definitely, like, if I had to have a husband, like, if this was, like, we were in some sort of alternate universe, I definitely would, like, want a little tiny dick one. Anyway, I would like Little Willie John, is what I'm saying. Yeah, so she recorded Fever, and the real reason, the thing that I like about Peggy Lee is that all there is. That's the song that really gets me. There's tuba in it. I mean, what more could you want in a song? But also, fucking, that song is, like, so deep. It cuts me deep. It's good. It's a good song. I also really like, and the thing about Peggy Lee is she's such a tiny, cute, like, little blonde lady. It's just so, and like she's at the height of the 50s and she's speaking her mind about like the meaning of life in like a little song and like belittling like all of, you know, it's bold as hell. I really like it. So yeah, Peggy Lee's not queer, but fucking Is That All There Is? It's just about the queer song I ever heard in my life. As far as like, you know, making a stance on something in the 50s as a woman, it's to me, it's a direct commentary on what it's like to be a lady. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, is that all there is? Like, you get married and you have kids and then you wait, I guess. You know? Anyway, there's so many different things you could talk about with the song, you know. Everybody should have their own opinion on it. Oh my god, cats. Get out of here. What are you doing? They can't fucking deal with me being in the closet. I can't. Alright. Okay, moving on. Anita O. So now we're getting kind of jazzy. So, Patsy Cline, she's country. The nice thing about Patsy Cline, though, it's a country music. It's like, you know, it's not really country music. It's like music that was recorded in the country, but it isn't like country music, you know. I don't even know. It's fucking obnoxious. Yeah, no red solo cups in any of Patsy Cline charts, you know. Anita O. is a jazzy sort of lady. She was born in Kansas City, but she was raised in Chicago. I saw it described as a broken home. She left home, like, you know, not complete. She, like, dropped out of high school and left her house. I think her house was abusive when she was 14 and just, like, started singing in jazz clubs and shit. And she really had a real, lifelong relationship with drugs, and she you know, that didn't end up so well. She got arrested for drugs a bunch of times, and she was arrested for drugs a bunch. She didn't die of a drug overdose though, so I think she kicked the habit. She died of like a heart attack. She had pneumonia. It was no big deal. It's nothing crazy. So, Anita O. I really like her style. I really like her flair. I really like the way she sings. I really like, Beautiful Love. And, Old Devil Moon. Strawberry Moon is a good one. Love for Sale. It's good. She's very rhythmic. They say that she's really picky about her drummers. That makes sense. I'm also picky about my drummers. Like, you should be picky about your drummers. You know what I mean? Like, drummers are important. And, like, if you have somebody back there beating time, like, fucking Jesus. You know? Anyway. Okay. Next up, Ella Fitzgerald. So, Ella Fitzgerald is like, probably the best known singer from this time frame. She was wildly popular in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. She was going fine in the 70s. And by the 1980s, she had health problems. She had heart surgery. She had diabetes. She was blind. She had both legs amputated in 1994. She made her last recording in 1989, and it seems like she had the worst of her health problems after that. She died in 1996 in Beverly Hills. But she had more than 200 albums and 2,000 songs. So contrast that with Patsy Cline, you know what I mean? Like, Ella Fitzgerald had a really long life with a lot of success. She collaborated with Louis Armstrong, Count Basie, Frank Sinatra. What we're going to talk about is mostly the Cole Porter songbook and the stuff she did in the 40s, the early Decca records. So we're mostly going to focus on, the Decca. We're talking about the Decca recordings. So the thing is that a lot of these jazz charts, like, people will sing the same song and they'll have their own version of it. And I love that. It's my favorite. So I have a couple different versions of the same song on here. I think we have 3 different versions of Mean to Me. Is that right? We should have 3 different versions of Mean to Me. There's the Betty Carter Mean to Me. There's the Sarah Vaughan Mean to Me. And there should be Ella Fitzgerald Mean to Me. And a lot of people cover people's songs nowadays. A lot of people collaborate with people nowadays. But it just doesn't seem to have the same sort of character as this time period, where you weren't really doing a cover, you were playing somebody's, like a songwriter's song, and then the musician gets to do the music part of it. You know what I mean? And it's awesome. It's kind of like I would almost rather be a songwriter, you know what I mean, than and have somebody interpret my work and have so many different beautiful renditions of it. It would be so rewarding. But so check out the 3 different Mean to Me's. It's such a good song. So Ella Fitzgerald, she gets really popular with her Decca singles, and then she really makes a breakthrough when she gets signed onto the new Verve Records in the late 50s, and that really changes things. She does the Cole Porter songbook, and she becomes what people refer to as America's first lady of song. And she's very, very good. Listen to the playlist. There's a lot of good stuff on there. I used to take a nap after I like it when I was in high school. I had an hour for lunch, which was crazy. I didn't know what to do for an hour because I didn't have any friends. So I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's eat real fast, and then I'm just gonna go and listen to Ella Fitzgerald and take a 20-minute power nap. So I would just like listen to Ella Fitzgerald and take a 20-minute power nap. And it was like the most invigorating shit ever. And I would have the craziest dreams. Because it was like between being asleep and, you know what I mean? Like I was resting because I was like young and I didn't have any like, I didn't really, you know, I was just like able to sleep, I guess. And like, I would just have these crazy, amazing, like daydream dreams, post naps. It was the most wonderful thing. Yeah, so that was all thanks to Ella Fitzgerald. I hope you have the same sort of experience listening to the fucking playlist. Yep. Okay. So, we're gonna move on. We're not gonna talk anymore about Ella Fitzgerald for now, because we're gonna talk about her again in the next episode, because she just keeps on going and going and going. You know what I mean? Okay. Next up, Sarah Vaughan. Sarah Vaughan, born in 1924. She is a guitarist and a pianist and a singer. She's most famous for being a singer. She's also pretty famous for being a pianist. She started off in the 1940s. So Sarah Vaughan like started as a jazz pianist, but she got hired to be the part of the band of the Apollo Theater, but then they hired some other like trombone piano playing guy, so she like kind of stopped playing piano and like only sang. And for a while it like was, she just kind of, I don't know, based on what I understand, she just kind of got the shaft like over and over and over again for like a decade. And she was just kind of pushed out of the way because there's so many other incredible superstars going on, like Ella and like Dinah Washington, and like, you know, there's a lot of really good people going on this time. And it wasn't really until later that she got really the respect and adoration that she deserved. She was still successful, but I don't know, a lot of the early pictures of Sarah Vaughan, she looks miserable. And she also, like, she had a beef with Columbia because Columbia was, like, making her do, like, real, just mainstream, like, watered down bullshit garbage. And she was like, fuck this, I want to be, like, an artist. Because she's a real artist. And, you know, I know that Ella Fitzgerald is amazing, but I think Sarah Vaughan is better. And, there's a really incredible quality to her voice, and she has a lot to say, and she really fought for everything that she has. All these people did. They're all incredible, but Sarah Vaughan, I think, is really, really good. I really like I'm gonna sit right down and write myself a letter. It's my favorite version of Mean to Me. Yeah. It's so good. I don't know though, Betty Carter's Mean to Me is like, holy shit, it's really good. It's like almost like an instrumentalist though. We'll get to Betty Carter. Okay. So, yeah, you have to, I mean, I could keep talking about Sarah Vaughan, or you could just listen to her. Like, there's way more that you can learn from just listening to her, so just do that. We're gonna move on to Etta James for like 2 seconds. Etta James is unbelievably dope, was born in 1938, and she does a lot of genres, blues, R&B, soul, rock and roll, jazz, gospel. She's most famous for At Last, The Wallflower, Something's Got a Hold on Me. She's won, you know, Grammys. All these people have run Grammys and shit. I'm not talking about any of their awards. I think all that stuff is stupid. Like, sure, like, you know, I should probably be mentioning that all these different people won Grammys and stuff. It's just, like, irrelevant to me. You know, what's most relevant is listening to the playlist, but also, you know, I just don't really care if you won a Grammy. You know what I mean? I mean, it makes no difference to me. Etta James, she's technically a contralto. I just think it's hilarious because, like, like in like the fanciest versions of like classical opera singing, like being a contralto and like being like a between register singer is like sometimes a cool advantage, but like mostly kind of just like people just kind of like see you as inflexible. But like in all other types of music, it's like a huge advantage. You know what I mean? Like being a pop singer with like a between gender voice, like looking at you, fucking everybody. That's a huge advantage. It's like super popular. It's super in. It's super, you know, Bruno Mars like sounds like a lady. Do you know what I mean? Michael Jackson like sounds like a lady. Cher like sounds like a man. And you know, Etta James is like the most fabulous sort of voice you're ever gonna hear in your life. But is she ever gonna sing the fucking Queen of the Night aria? Like, nope, never. It would be very comical to me. Okay, moving on. We got Dinah Washington. Was born in 1924 in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Dinah Washington is amazing. Evil Gal Blues. She influenced a lot of people. She inspired a lot of people. She died too soon. She died in 1963. She had a lethal combination of some pretty weird sedatives that I've like never heard of. Maybe I don't know what the deal is with that. So What a Difference a Day Made is amazing. You gotta listen to that. Such a classy sound. And all of the super successful people that you know, get associated with classy sound and elegance, all of them say that Dinah Washington inspired them. Like, all of them. And all these ladies were inspiring each other, and it's kind of amazing. And it's really good, like I said, to listen to all of them kind of mixed up, because you hear the influences on each other, and it's really just kind of amazing. She even did a cover of Hank Williams' Cold Cold Heart. It was super popular. I'm gonna put that in there. So good. So if we're gonna talk about sophisticated ladies of music, we gotta talk about Nina Simone. So Nina Simone was born in 1933, and just about, you know, I don't know, if you know, all of these people are incredible. All of these people inspire me. You know I like started the episode by saying that Peggy Lee was my favorite, but no, Nina Simone is like in a league of her own, though. Nina Simone is a singer, songwriter, musician, arranger, civil rights activist who did classical, jazz, blues, folk, R&B, gospel, and pop. She was born to a poor family in North Carolina. She originally aspired to be a concert pianist. She went to Juilliard. She then applied to scholarship to go to Curtis, but she was denied admission despite a well-received audition, which she attributed to racial discrimination. In 2003, days before her death, the Curtis Institute of Music gave her an honorary degree. Go fuck yourself, Curtis. I don't know. I have had a bad experience with Curtis too, so this is like not surprising to me, but it's also like so outrageous. You know, like sometimes I don't want to talk about classical music at all. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wish that we could just like disqualify it from like, you know, sophisticated conversation, because it's just the way that they behave is not sophisticated. Do you know what I mean? Like, to deny Nina Simone admission to Curtis because of her race is not sophisticated. Okay. Again, she's a bit of a contralto. So here's the deal. You have to listen to Nina Simone. I Put a Spell on You, Feeling Good. So Nina Simone is another one, like kind of like Ella Fitzgerald, where her career spans such a huge amount of time that we're not going to spend all the time talking about her today. We're going to talk about her again. A lot of her most interesting, like all of it is really interesting. Some of the coolest stuff happens in the 60s. So I have a bunch of stuff from the late 50s on the playlist. You have to check out Black is the Color of My True Love's Hair. You have to listen to Return Home. I like instrumentals personally. Return Home is amazing. And you have to check out Sinner Man. Sinner Man's 1965. See, like I'm cheating. You know what I mean? Like I should put that on next week's. I might change that. I might not. Sinner Man is so good. But also, sorry, I can't believe I forgot to say this. You have not lived until you've heard Nina Simone Summertime from 1959. You have to listen to Nina Simone's Summertime from 1959 live version. You know, there's so many good versions of Summertime. It's a really good song. You know, Gershwin knew what he was doing. I'm just saying, like, this Nina Simone version is better than all of them. So, do with that what you will. I suggest you stop everything you're doing and go listen to the fucking song and then continue listening to the podcast in a bit. You can pause, you know? Alright. So, we're gonna listen to so much more Nina Simone, like, in the next episode. So, for now, we have to keep moving. We have to go to Blossom Dearie. So Blossom Dearie is a very interesting jazz singer. She's also a pianist. And you know so Blossom Dearie, she is a New York girl. She lived and performed in New York. She also performed in London a lot. She was born in 1924. Her father is Scots-Irish and her mother is Norwegian. And you have to listen to where is it? Deed I Do and Manhattan. And so I sound like a broken record, but Blossom Dearie has way more hits in the 60s and 70s. There's so many good things in the late 50s album, though. There's 3 albums that happened in the late 50s. You can check them all out on Spotify. They're all really, really good. Distinct style change happens later with the change of recording technology. Mostly we get the electric bass, and the electric bass makes fucking Blossom Dearie sound like the grooviest, hippest lady that's ever fucking grooved or hipped. You know what I mean? It's really good stuff. You gotta check out Blossom Dearie from, like, especially, I really like the album, Once Upon a Summertime. It's so good. Tea for Two, Moonlight Savings Time. Oh my goodness. It Amazes Me. Surrey with the Fringe on Top. I tell you, man. It's good. It's good. I tell you, man, it's not one of the song titles. All right. Okay. So we've talked about Patsy Cline. We've talked about Peggy Lee. We've talked about Anita O. We've talked about Sarah Vaughan. We've talked about Etta James. We've talked about Ella Fitzgerald. We've talked about Blossom Dearie. We've talked about Dinah Washington. We've talked about Nina Simone. Who else is there? You know what I mean? Who else could there be? Right? There's a lot of people already, but there's one we haven't talked about yet that's like, you know, you're waiting for it. The suspense. It's building. Who is it? It's Betty Carter. Betty Carter is so good. Betty Carter, though. Okay, so Betty Carter, born 1929. Betty Carter is so good. Betty Carter it's a very jazz predominant sort of career. Very imaginative sort of singing. Really, to me, kind of sounds like she's playing saxophone, honestly. Like, it's really, really, really good. You have to listen to all of it. All the Betty Carter stuff. The Mean to Me version of Betty Carter is almost better than Sarah Vaughan's Mean to Me. I know. What a Little Moonlight Can Do is the best song you're ever going to hear in your life. I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire. It's the second best song you're ever going to hear in your life. My Reverie, amazing. So Betty Carter, again, she has a much bigger career later, but this is where she gets her start. This is where we get to see, what she's really made of without a lot of outside influence, you know what I mean? Because later, depending on your manager, and you sort of get, and Betty Carter, the modern sound of Betty Carter is 1960. So we're at the very end of this time frame for this, excluding, that like little bit of cheating I did with that Ella Fitzgerald song. But so the modern sound of Betty Carter is the album that I would recommend to you to start with, and then we're gonna get into more Betty Carter later, but you have to check out Betty Carter. Just like an unbelievable vocal talent, like a true gift, and it's clearly just raw musicianship. She's very colorful. She's very rhythmic. Her improv is amazing. Like she can just scat forever. You have to just listen to it. It's indescribable. I mean, a lot of this stuff is a bit indescribable. You have to listen to it. If we could just describe it, then nobody would listen to it. There would just be like newspaper articles written about concerts and like no CDs. You know what I mean? Like you have to go fucking listen to it. So check it out on Spotify. The next episode, we're going to talk more about like the 60s. There's so much good music. It's unbelievable. So as I said before, this is all like lady killers who kill me. It's not really like I'm obviously not doing like a queer playlist, but I'm gay and I like all this stuff, and I kind of think that's the whole point. So if you like it, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised for sure. And again, I did my best to get the playlist to be as not super pronoun heavy, but it was a real challenge. I think that hopefully we should see fewer super specific pronouns in the 60s and 70s. I think the drugs are going to kick in pretty soon. Yeah, I tell you, the lack of drugs is palpable. You know what I mean? Or certainly, like, it's not really everybody was on lots of drugs, but Anita O was on lots of drugs, but the types of drugs that they were on is the difference here. Because like heroin does not seem to be nearly as creative of a drug as LSD, but who am I to say? I mean, it's wild speculation. So, I'm just gonna say, like, Blossom Dearie, obviously the recording technology is a big factor in this, but there's a whole different sort of sound coming. So you gotta familiarize yourself with the late 50s stuff so that when you listen to the 60s and then to the 70s, so you can get, like, properly blown away, you know what I mean? Alright, I'm so pumped about it. I think that's about it. Ta-ta for now. Mwah mwah.